Picture your childhood. What did you do for fun? Do you picture a slip and slide with the neighbor kids? Or maybe riding bikes with your friends in the park? Or just good old hitting your sibling with a stick you found on the side of the road? Perhaps your childhood was filled a little more with Neopets and Webkins, Minecraft, Wii Sports, your Wii Fit telling 10-year-old you that you're obese. Maybe you watched a lot of YouTube as a kid, like Captain Sparkles, Annoying Orange, Smosh, or Charlie the Unicorn. Even though you may have had a lot of technology growing up, children increasingly are exposed to technology younger and younger. Do you remember your first phone? Ladybugs do not count, and neither do Google Pixels, you weirdos.
One of the many challenges we all face is when do we let our kids get cell phones? Nowadays, it's no longer a matter of if, but when.
And then there's YouTube and social media. When should you start letting your kids share their videos, pictures, and lives with the rest of the world where they can all see it?
Who's giving these kids all this access to screen time? Children are not the ones giving themselves iPads at 5 years old. It's their parents. Parents have been using screens as a pacifier of sorts for years, and unfortunately, shoving a device in the face of a screaming kid is nothing new, and it's very damaging. Check this out.
No more iPad.
While it might be easy to blame the parents for creating this horrifying child, it is just as important to take a step back and look at what is happening in the world. Parents these days are more anxious about their kids' whereabouts. In the mind of a parent, it's safer to stay inside on your computer than to be out doing heroin or something. I don't know. I'm not a kid. But they think about all of the trouble that they got into as a kid and how dangerous it could have been. They worry about kidnappings or COVID. The internet can be an unsafe place too. Speaking of which, if you're a child, shoo! How did you find this college comedy show? I'm telling your mom. But compared to the possible physical dangers of the real world, it's hard to rival the great outdoors. On top of all this, there are the added stresses of COVID. Children are not allowed to see their peers face to face, forcing them to spend even more time online, which makes this whole thing even worse. With the increase of interactions online and the decrease of interactions in person, the expectations for social etiquette have drastically changed. Children are rarely interacting with people their own age outside of their immediate family, and not to sound like my grandpa, but back in my day,
this was our hangout spot.
As opposed to what kids have now, which is just undeniably worse. With school being online and in-person interactions being out of reach, children are not learning the critical social skills that they would normally develop while playing on those little flat scooters during gym class. The super damaging part of this comes when you consider that spending more time looking at a screen worsens mental health, and unfortunately, this is leading to the isolation of our children. And because baby boomers' favorite pastime seems to be making life harder for everyone who's actually able to get out of a chair without pulling a leg muscle, academic expectations have skyrocketed in the months following the shutdown of schools. Teachers are now able to track nearly every aspect of a student's screen time, and they're using this invasion of privacy to babysit younger children and make sure that they're staying on topic during Zoom sessions. The burden of success in school is still being placed on students, but now without the added benefits of social interaction and friendship that schools usually provide. When a lot of us were kids, the only technology that we had in classrooms were the overhead projectors that spit out heat, and when combined with the lights out, it was the perfect recipe for like a little in-class nappy poo. But now, with the drastically changing nature of technology in classrooms, even if students aren't doing their schoolwork entirely online, it is nearly impossible to complete a full day of learning without a device. This creates a huge problem for low-income students in public schools with less reliable access to online resources, which any human being would hate, but I'm sure Betsy DeVos probably loves that. Speaking of things that Betsy DeVos hates, it's time to receive a quality education.
Holy shit, you fucking killed her, dude!
We now interrupt this program for a brief crash course on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a really important concept to understand how kids are able to feel safe and wanted in the classroom, which is crucial for allowing kids to achieve academically. Most children's hierarchy of needs are not being met in the classroom. There's a real fear of going to school with the threat of getting sick. Seriously, kids are germ factories. Schools are breeding grounds for disease. Why are their hands always so goddamn sticky? Because kids are also having to maintain grades in a pandemic, the mental health of our students is rapidly deteriorating. If students are taking classes in person, their safety is not being accounted for in terms of COVID. And if they're taking their classes online, they're not feeling a sense of belonging with their peers, on top of all the the risks that come with technology exposure. We now return to regularly scheduled Beaumont programming. Even before the mandate of online schooling, there has been a rising issue with the amount of time children are spending on screens, and it is changing how kids are. The youth of today are at more of a risk to develop depression and anxiety than ever before, and it is directly correlated to how much media that they're consuming. Check out a couple Nikocado Avocado videos and you'll understand. It pains me to say that this is not the worst visual atrocity kids are seeing on YouTube these days. With the company cracking down on content seen as not family-friendly, many creators had to work tirelessly to meet the excessive demands of the platform to avoid being demonetized. And some, well, they took a different route. This snippet was taken from and I use this term with heavy scrutiny, a children's animation channel. This clearly profane content flew under the radar alongside many other disturbing child family channels. Now, you may be thinking, well, YouTube has a ton of videos on it. There's no way the company could find every tiny little channel that makes trashy content and stop them. Buckle your seatbelts, baby brains, and check out these numbers with me. This isn't your mom and pop's "we needed to make a YouTube channel to upload your 6th grade band recital." These are companies with hundreds of thousands of dollars that used YouTube to exploit the younger generations and engage them in highly sexualized and grotesque content. But because they have Elsa and Spider-Man in bright colors with a few fart jokes mixed in, everything is peaches and roses for Susan Wojcicki. And this isn't new. Kids' YouTube was dominated by these channels for years before YouTube stepped in and laid down the ban hammer on some of the most popular garbage spewers. For those looking to find a reasoning behind YouTube's unwillingness to take those awful channels down, we turn our attention to Swedish pop group ABBA. Money, money, money. Though we at the Beaumont Bulletin would love to continue this rant, we worry our younger audiences will start to lose focus if we don't change the topic, as this is the iPad generation. Younger generations are also experiencing lower attention spans. With everything being one click away, children are not able to develop the skills needed in order to be content waiting. This also relates to a child's creativity and imagination. If you can't be bored, then you can't think, which means that you don't have to use your brain to think of the best way to annoy the shit out of your parents. And that's an essential part of the development process. Sorry, Mom. Children these days have the patience of your dog waiting for food to be put in their bowl. Or those assholes that sing, 1, 2, 3, that's enough for me, when you've been drinking from the water fountain for 3 fucking seconds. Media is being shoved in their face at all times, and this causes them to not be able to develop an imagination. Where is there time to be creative if all of the ideas that you could possibly think of are being pushed out by a screen? Not having a fully developed imagination is like going to Conrad's after 2 p.m. The lights are on, but no one's home. This is making children not be able to problem solve and think critically. So today's kids are going through a lot, just like the rest of us. This is important to remember. It's not just you, Cheryl. We're all in a pandemic. Even your little shitbag, Brayden. His generation is being exposed to way more technology than you or anyone else your age ever was. And the people who invented that technology, I'm looking at you, Zuckerberg, never stopped to consider how it would impact future generations. They just want to make a profit off your kids getting their sticky little fingers all over their precious iPads. So, no, it's not really the parents' fault. And it's definitely not the kids' fault, even though they are super annoying. It's hard to cast the blame here. It's hard to have a good conclusion to give you. There's honestly no way to know how this will impact today's children when they are old enough to run our economy and our government. Scary. There's no way to know how this will affect the world in the long run. All we can do now is just try to treat our kids better by giving them real opportunities to grow. This means not letting Charlie D'Amelio be your child's babysitter. It means providing low-income kids with better access to technology and it means helping to end this goddamn panoramic so that they can go back to school safely.
Thank you so much for watching the Beaumont Bulletin. Click here to watch our newest videos, click here to watch our best videos, and click here to subscribe. Subscribing is fun. We love subscribing. Bet you won't. Ha ha. Yay. Subscribe. Woo! Charisma.